Welcome to this week's edition of Flashback Friday, your opportunity to get some good review by listening to episodes from the past that Jason has handpicked to help you today in the present and propel you into the future. Enjoy.
Speakers, publishers, consultants, coaches, and info marketers unite. The Speaking of Wealth Show is your roadmap to success and significance. Learn the latest tools, technologies, and tactics to get more bookings, sell more products, and attract more clients. If you're looking to increase your direct response sales, create a big-time personal brand, and become the go-to guru, the Speaking of Wealth Show is for you. Here's your host, Jason Hartman.
Welcome to the Speaking of Wealth Show. This is your host, Jason Hartman, where we discuss profit strategies for speakers, publishers, authors, consultants, coaches, info marketers, and just go over a whole bunch of exciting things that you can use to increase your business, to make your business more successful and more passive and more automated and more scalable. So we will be back with a great interview. Be sure to visit us at speakingofwealth.com. You can take advantage of our blog, subscribe to the RSS feed, and many other resources for free at speakingofwealth.com. And we will be back with a great interview for you in less than 60 seconds. Hey, it's my pleasure to welcome Joel Comm to the show. He is a New York Times best-selling author of several books. One is the AdSense Code, think Da Vinci Code, and What Google Never Told You About Making Money with AdSense. He's also the author of So What Do You Do? Discovering the Genius Next Door with One Simple Question. That's his latest book. And former host and executive producer of the Next Internet Millionaire. And he's coming to us today from beautiful Denver, Colorado. How you doing, Joel?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Well, hey, the pleasure is all ours. I've been wanting to get you on the show for quite a while. I've been stalking you, so it's good that you're here.
Well, I hope that I can live up to your expectations.
All right. Well, me too. Well, hey, so your latest book, let's talk about that one first. Discovering the Genius Next Door with One Simple Question. Do you want to tell us what the question is?
Well, the question is the most common question that is asked when you meet somebody, usually, at a networking event or, any type of business event for the first time. After you learn their name, we inevitably ask, so what do you do? And, oftentimes we want people to hurry up and finish telling us what they do so we can tell them what we do. But
fair enough.
When we stop and actually listen to what people have to say, we get an opportunity to really connect with the soul, to hear what they're passionate about, how they're using their God-given talents, skills, and abilities and personality to bring value to the world around them. And, it's not just the so-called gurus that have something important to say. I believe all up and down every street here in our great country and around the world, there are people that are following their own passions and using those talents, skills, and abilities they have to have impact on their families, their communities, and the world around them. And so what do you do? Focuses on regular people that are doing extraordinary things.
I have asked that question many times myself, and, I like when people ask it of me. But I remember one time, Joel, many years ago, a guy answered with, I will not be defined by what I do. And, I kind of thought about that. I thought, he must have been a little put off about me asking that. And then I thought, are you kidding me? I mean, you spend at least a third of your life working, and probably more, and hopefully you're passionate about that work and you're into it. Well, I didn't think that was a bad question, but he was.
No, and the irony is that you didn't say, I'm going to define you by what you do. What do you do?
I guess he thought I would.
He came up with something. All you wanted to know is how he spends his time and how he brings value to the world through whatever types of activities he does for a vocation. And I think it's a legitimate question. It gives us insight into what people are all about. And that's why I'm excited about the book. I'm excited about the people in it. And they all have inspirational stories, because if you're touching lives, there's a reason we do what we do. It doesn't come out of a vacuum. it comes from, part of it is nature, who we are, part of it is nurture based on our experiences in our lives and that natural proclivity that we have to certain types of activities and behaviors. And so it's not something, we could say, well, I sell books, right? But as a bookseller, maybe that's because you're passionate about books. Maybe there's something about the written word that's near and dear to your heart that attracted you to that industry. What is it about it? What's the story? Was there some special encounter that, as your parents read to you or a teacher? There's always a backstory, and that's what I really hope to pull out of the stories that the co-authors of So What Do You Do contributed.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's kind of a chicken soup for the soul format, right? You've got a bunch of different contributors?
Yeah, it's chicken soup for the soul meets the entrepreneur. So the stories are inspirational, and you get to understand the backstory of why they do what they do, but then you also learn about how what they do brings value, and in many cases, there's practical tips for both life and business in each one of the chapters.
Well, let's talk a little bit about marketing, because no matter what you do, you probably need to be marketing it, or no one's going to know about what you do. What are some of your best marketing ideas nowadays? Platforms, ideas, tricks, tips, whatever.
Well, the best ideas are always the most unique ideas. I think, when we look to try to copy what other people are doing successfully in marketing, we become that copycat. And I think marketing means that we need to take a look at the product service we're offering and determine who the audience is that will talk about what it is that we're doing, because the best marketing is word of mouth marketing. You can advertise and spend a ton of money on TV and radio ads and Facebook ads and Google ads, but if people aren't excited about what you're sharing with them and excited enough to pass it on to others, then you can just spend a lot of money. So it's really all about the story that you tell and who your target is that is going to retell that story for you, that they'll be excited enough about what you're sharing that they want to share it with others. And that's what we call viral marketing.
Yeah, well, getting that virus to spread, the idea virus, as Seth Godin calls it, is certainly important. Any tips on doing that, getting that kind of engagement? When I look at my different Facebook pages for all of my different brands, it's on one level, it's great to have a lot of likes, but the real thing to me is how many people are talking about this. That's the engagement. That's the virality. Would you agree?
Right. Absolutely. It comes down to how many people are sharing what it is that you're putting out there and what that reaches as a result. If it's not compelling enough for people to share it with others, then it doesn't have enough steam on its own. And of course, as a marketer, I've seen it go both ways. I've seen things that I do that I thought would be highly viral fall flat on their face and not go anywhere. And then I've seen other things just really take off. And before you know it, it is spreading like a virus. And it's all about the story that you tell. We love stories. Again, back to books, right? But it's not just books. It's, it's film and it's radio. It's through podcasting. It's through TV. We are living stories as human beings. Our life is a story. Music is the soundtrack of our lives. It's all the story that's unfolding before us, and we get to play a role in telling that story. So it makes sense that the most compelling marketing is going to be story-based.
Yeah, I agree with you. However, I think a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of marketers, Joel, really struggle with how to tell the story, or they don't think they really have a story, and they're just focusing on, here's my product, here's my service, here are the benefits of it. Maybe they do the old Dale Carnegie fact bridge benefit, which, that's legit. I mean, I think that's good, but it's elementary, right? It's not as good as a good story. Any tips on crafting that story and retelling it?
I don't know if I'm dating myself or not, but when I was growing up, there was a guy by the name of Drew Allen Kaplan. And Drew was big into gadgets and electronics. and he put out a monthly printed catalog, and it was called the DAC catalog.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the DAC catalog was this. It was a magazine, really, because you would open it, and every page would have a product on it. But that product, it wasn't just an advertisement for that product. Drew wrote a story to go with his experience with each one of these products, why he tried it out, what it did for him, how he felt when he tested out those new speakers or this new vacuum cleaner, whatever the gadget was. And he drew you in by connecting with human emotion. And that's really the core of any story. If it doesn't connect with our hearts, it's going to be really difficult for it to connect with our mind. Now, I'm not saying that we don't buy some things purely out of logic. We do. We know if we're looking for, some RAM for our computer, it's great if there's adjectives and they're like blazing fast and we'll get work done at twice the speed. But really, if we know what it is we want, we'll think logically. But often, if adjectives can be put in there that connect with emotion, we have a much better chance of making the sale, of connecting with somebody. And that's why, I'm reminded of storytelling, because Drew did such a fantastic job. In fact, for people who are interested, I think you can just go online and Google the DAC catalog, D-A-K, and I'll bet you somewhere there are scanned copies of these pages. It was brilliant copywriting, masterful storytelling, and I know it was one of those things that it wasn't a magazine subscription that I paid for. It was a free catalog, and I so look forward to getting it every month.
Right. Yeah, that's great. It's kind of like the J. Peterman catalog, with the stories and that kind of stuff, and that's great. It's interesting because I looked up the Wikipedia entry for it, and that was a big company. He eventually filed bankruptcy in 1992, but for a while in the late 80s, it was a $120 million a year business with 400 full-time workers and 3.8 million catalogs. Whoa.
Yeah.
I guess that storytelling works.
It did, and on eBay a few years ago, I found somebody auctioning off a catalog, and I had to buy one. So I have in my collection of nostalgia an original DAT catalog from the late 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fantastic. Well, any other tips on like crafting and telling that story, maybe bringing it into some entrepreneurs that or maybe we all know, any ideas for them? Or, how you use it in your own business?
Yeah, let me just give you something right out of my own. In 2010, I wrote a book called Ka-Ching, How to Run an Online Business That Pays and Pays. And, of course, Ka-Ching is that cash register sound. And as a promotional item to help connect with people and tell that story in a more vivid way, I was inspired by Staples' Easy Button. That was easy, the big red button. And I created and had manufactured a Ka-Ching button. Same size and shape, but it was green with a dollar sign on it. And when you press it, guess what? Ka-Ching. And I sent these off to editors and book reviewers, right, and people who would be promoting my book so that I would stand out. And I cannot tell you how many people have, usually you send off a little swag, a T-shirt or a little gift bag or something, and it's typical. People get that type of thing all the time. But they had never gotten anything like this before. And not only had they not received anything like this in the mail that stood out, but this is something they kept. They put it by their computers. And they remember every time they hit that thing, oh, Joel gave that to me. So I brought the story of that book to life by creating a promotional item that would stick in people's memories. That's storytelling.
Sure. Yeah, it is storytelling. And it's amazing how important that is. Speakers talk about it all the time. You've got to tell stories from the stage. It goes back to, the ancient Greeks and the way they would, do their performing arts and tell stories. And there are definitely formulas for it. I mean, Joseph Campbell and his hero's journey is a very popular one, but there are some other formulas for it as well, not just the hero's journey. So good advice. Good advice. Joel, what do you think is really one of the best platforms for marketing nowadays?
Well, I hate to say it, but currently Facebook is the best platform in terms of reach. I think that the the tide is going to turn because it's getting harder and harder to reach people, especially having an organic audience on Facebook. But as of now, if you know what you're doing and are keeping up with technology and the tools that are available, you can reach a lot of people for very low investment.
So I knew the answer before I asked you the question. I knew you were going to say that, so that's great. But why do you think it's going to change? I mean, and why do you think it's inexpensive now? Is Facebook just sort of developing momentum? Are they trying to just outdo Google? I don't know if they'll outdo Google. I mean, the companies are vastly different in their model and so forth. But what's the reason it's a bargain right now?
Well, I don't know that it's a bargain. It can be if you know what you're doing. Just like with AdWords, if you don't know what you're doing, you can blow through a lot of cash really quickly. So I don't want to mislead and make anybody think that it's that easy. If you know what you're doing, it can be simple. But the thing with Facebook is that you don't have to have a huge following or a big fan page to advertise and to target other people's audiences. And because there is such deep targeting available on Facebook, that makes it a really, really powerful tool for advertising. The reason I think that it's not going to be forever is that Facebook is getting backlash from people who have spent a lot of time and money and effort building fan pages. And then the organic reach of those posts on the fan pages continues to fall, where you might have 10,000 fans to your page, but only 500 see the post that you put up because of their EdgeRank algorithm. And I see that the reach is going to continue to decrease as the cost to reach those people that you already said they like your page increases. And the problem is that none of the current platforms were built with commerce in mind. They were built with the thought of getting as many people using it, right, as many members. It's really no different than the oldest advertising models we have. If we have circulation, then we have eyeballs. And if we have eyeballs, we can charge people to reach those eyeballs. And there has not yet been a social platform created that is developed for commerce to make it easy for businesses to reach the audiences that say they want to hear from them. And so I don't know where it's going to come from, but I think it's going to come out of nowhere. I wish I was the guy to build it. I'm not the one, but somebody's going to, and I think it's going to take the whole social world by surprise when somebody comes out with a platform that is designed for the consumer, for businesses, in a social manner, and that works perfectly in line with mobile.
Well, that's a really interesting statement. I mean, of course, Facebook wasn't designed that way. We all know the story of how it was developed. But how would it be designed for commerce? I mean, you can actually buy things and sell things on Facebook pages now. There are applications for that. What would be different about it that would...
Well, the problem is that a lot of these companies have paid to acquire likes to their page, paid to acquire their fans. Now they're having to pay again to reach the fans that they've already paid for. This is problematic. This is basically telling the businesses who are giving Facebook their money that it's a slap in the face. It's saying, okay, we're glad you spent that money to generate people who say they like you and want to hear from you. Now we're going to charge you again so you can actually reach them.
Well, it almost philosophically or conceptually, it almost gets worse than that, because with the new system where you can, I guess it's not that new anymore, but where you can actually upload your external email list into Facebook, and it'll find those people for you if they're on the platform, and then you can advertise to them. Businesses, again, must be thinking, I mean, philosophically, that's what I'm thinking. Wow, I paid to develop this list. It might have taken me 10 years, trade shows, advertising, whatever, however I got all those opt-ins. And now I'm going to stick it into Facebook and pay to reach my own list through their platform rather than just through my email server platform.
Exactly. It's brilliant as far as, Facebook goes as a company, but I think that there's going to come a point where, it's all about building a better mousetrap. And somebody is going to come along and they're going to provide a platform that is way more commerce friendly and doesn't seek to ding companies twice or three times for the same activity. And Facebook's, they're entrenched. They're stuck with the system now. This is what they've got. They can't make a change. They can't go backwards. So the question is how do you create a platform that welcomes commerce, companies of all kinds, and consumers to the table and connects them in a way that this is the origin of the site? And there hasn't been one yet, and I believe there will be.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, it's so hard to imagine what will be next, but and it's so hard to imagine dislodging a player like Facebook. I mean, look, Google's tried it a couple of times, and I guess with Google Plus, they're sort of doing it in a different way, but not really. Still, everybody's using Facebook.
Well, everything gets dislodged at some point.
I guess. Look at MySpace.
Yeah, look at MySpace. Look at Apple. Apple was dead in the water. Microsoft owned the desktop, and now everywhere you go, people are carrying iPhones and iPads and MacBooks, and Apple is the world's biggest company now.
No question. But it's a little different.
Change happens, and it will continue to.
It does happen. The only thing I'm saying is that with social networks, it's so darn sticky because you've got to get people to move in mass. You can't. I mean, if you're already connected there, why are you going to go somewhere else? You see, it's pretty sticky.
It's very sticky. But it will happen.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. Well, that's good. What else should we be talking about, Joel, just in the time we have left? Anything you want to touch on in particular, whether it be the Next Internet Millionaire show, maybe some of the experiences there and what you saw, or any general advice for business people, whatever.
I think I was early to the game with Next Internet Millionaire. I was inspired by reality TV such as, Trump's Apprentice show, and I saw the rise of YouTube, and this is back in 2007, and we produced and hosted the world's first competitive internet reality show. It was a full 13-episode program shot with 4 cameras in the studio with real contestants and real trainers and real challenges and real prizes. And it's amazing because even though it's been 7 years since we were shooting this program, when I go to events, I still have people coming up and telling me that they saw the show and when am I going to do another season? And I laugh because it was so much work to do it. And my answer is when a production company comes along and says they would like to pay to do it and have me be a part of it. And until then, it's such a huge effort. And if anybody wants to see the show, it's out there, nextinternetmillionaire.com, and a Hulu network called Real Wisdom TV that should be launching soon approached me, and they want to actually put this on Hulu. I guess a lot of what's in there still rings true for people wanting to get started in marketing today.
Yeah. It's amazing that, a production company hasn't taken you up on that by now, or some big studio, because, you look at the success of Shark Tank, for example, and wow, it just seems like this would be a natural.
Yeah, we were before all that, before Shark Tank, before Undercover Boss, and I think that the climate is more ripe for it now than ever before. So, it's not something I'm actively pursuing, but if it happens to come my way, then I'd certainly be interested in looking at it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Joel, thank you so much for joining us today. Give out your websites. Tell people where they can find you and where they can buy your famous app, if you want to tell them about that before you go.
Sure. Well, I'm the easiest guy in the world to find. I'm the only Joel Comm in the world, and my last name is spelled C-O-M-M, like .com with 2 M's. So if you'll just go to joelcomm.com, there's my blog, and on any of the social media sites, I am at Joel Comm.
Fantastic. And you want to tell people about your app before you go? I love this.
Oh, yeah, sure. The app. So I created a novelty app back in 2008, the year the App Store opened, and myself and my team, comprised of mostly males, thought it would be funny to create an application that would simulate flatulence, a fart machine. And so for those who don't know, I am the creator of the now world infamous iFart Mobile that exploded onto the charts, made a bit of a stink, and took the world by storm in 2008. Went to #1 in the iTunes App Store for over 3 weeks, and more than 5 years later, it still sells like clockwork every day to kids and kids at heart everywhere.
Hey, Joel, will you share some of your numbers on that? I mean, I didn't know you then, but I remember when that app came out and people were talking about it. I think you were selling it for 99 cents, and I heard you sold like 1 million of those just right away, really quick.
No, okay. Just wherever you heard the million, that was rumors. But to date, it has sold over 800,000 or so, and I think with the free version, there's been well over 1 million downloads, and it still sells every day. It's pretty funny. It's usually in the top 200 of the entertainment category in the App Store, and has been for just about every day since it's launched.
And I mean, that had to be pretty simple to develop, right?
It was. Fortunately, I had a talented developer on my staff. I had a talented designer, and they were able to pull it together in really the initial version in just a matter of weeks. And so, it's crazy that you can spend $5,000 and make $500,000, but sometimes the simplest ideas are the best.
Yeah, definitely true. What a great era in which we live that you can actually pull that off and do it, and so that's great. Well, Joel Comm, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
I've never really thought of Jason as subversive, but I just found out that's what Wall Street considers him to be.
Really? Now, how is that possible at all?
Simple. Wall Street believes that real estate investors are dangerous to their schemes because the dirty truth about income property is that it actually works in real life.
I know. I mean, how many people do you know, not including insiders, who created wealth with stocks, bonds, and mutual funds? Those options are for people who only want to pretend they're getting ahead.
Stocks and other non-direct traded assets are a losing game for most people. The typical scenario is you make a little, you lose a little, and spin your wheels for decades.
That's because the corporate crooks running the stock and bond investing game will always see to it that they win. This means, unless you're one of them, you will not win.
And unluckily for Wall Street, Jason has a unique ability to make the everyday person understand investing the way it should be. He shows them a world where anything less than a 26% annual return is disappointing.
Yep, and that's why Jason offers a one-book set on creating wealth that comes with 20 digital download audios. He shows us how we can be excited about these scary times and exploit the incredible opportunities this present economy has afforded us.
We can pick local markets untouched by the economic downturn, exploit packaged commodities investing, and achieve exceptional returns safely and securely.
I like how he teaches you how to protect the equity in your home before it disappears and how to outsource your debt obligations to the government.
And this set of advanced strategies for wealth creation is being offered for only $197.
To get your Creating Wealth Encyclopedia Book 1, complete with over 20 hours of audio, go to jasonhartman.com/store.
If you want to be able to sit back and collect checks every month, just like a banker, Jason's Creating Wealth Encyclopedia series is for you. This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company, all rights reserved. For distribution or publication rights and media interviews, please visit www.hartmanmedia.com or email media@hartmanmedia.com. Nothing on this show should be considered specific personal or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and the host is acting on behalf of Platinum Properties Investor Network, Inc. exclusively.